Hey, I'm Arturia and I'm back again from my studio, Salem 7 Music Studio, and today I'm back with another audio related video. Today's Friday, so it's audio day. Okay, so now this one is especially for anyone who is about to get into the audio business. All right, now producers, engineers, everyone, especially those who are just trying to enter into the space. And these are tips and these are the essential equipment that you need to get to begin. Coming up. All right, now, first of all, it's no longer news that in 2020, a couple of days to 2020, in 2020, you don't need $1 million to start a studio. You don't need $1 million to begin a recording business. Now, we have very, very, very fantastic equipment out there in the market today that you don't have to break the bank for. Very, very inexpensive and still sound great. The audio interfaces that are less than $500, they're microphones less than $500 that are doing fantastic with engineers around the world. All right, now, first of all, I'm going to give you some tips and I'll reveal to you the exact equipment that you need to go for in order to begin. And even if you've already began and you need some tips on how to add to your setup, on how to improve your current workflow, then this video is also going to help you. But stay tuned, because at the end of the video, I'm going to reveal some other things that will improve your setup massively. So watch the video till the end. Essential studio equipment number one is, of course, your computer. Now, your computer is the brain of the studio, and it's probably the equipment that you would spend the most amount of money on. Why? Because it's the device that captures the audio signals, the MIDI signals. It's the device that processes the audio and MIDI signals. It's the device that exports your files to the formats that you choose. So it's the busiest equipment in the studio. And I said earlier that you're probably going to spend the most amount of money on it because you need a machine that is actually a beast. You need a machine that works very hard and is very powerful, can handle all your audio processing needs, can handle large files, large track counts, can handle a large number of virtual instruments, which we're going to talk about in subsequent videos, can handle a lot of processing that goes into creating audio files and all that. Now, I would recommend, now this is my recommendation, you don't have to break the bank for this. Now, if you can't afford this, there are other options, but my recommendation in terms of specs, whether it's Windows or Mac, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I'm not trying to start any argument about that. So look for a computer that has at least 16 gigabytes of RAM. 16 gigabytes of RAM is more than enough for your processing needs, at least on the average level. All right, now, and the processor speed has to be up there too. I'm looking at between 3.5 and 4 gigahertz of processor speed, because you need a fast computer to handle your processing within your software, so there's no lagging and delays and all that, and your workflow can be smooth. And also, if it comes with internal memory of at least 1 terabyte, that would be fantastic, so that you'd be able to store your files and save your session files from your DAW and all your recordings inside the computer, and you wouldn't need to look for external storage devices immediately, and we'll talk about that later. All right, now we move on to the second essential studio equipment that you need to start your journey into audio, and that's the audio interface. Now, this is the go-between between the physical analog realm and the digital space inside your computer. Now, this device doubles as or maybe triples or quadruples as the recording interface that you record through, the MIDI interface, because I'm going to advise that you get one that also serves as a MIDI interface, and it also serves as the analog to digital converter, because it converts the analog signal into ones and zeros inside your computer, and that's why your computer is able to see what is being recorded. All right, now this device is very powerful and it's essential. It's the second most important equipment that you need after your computer, in my opinion. All right, now Examples I'm going to give you based on my experience in the audio world, based on what I've handled. I'm not going to reveal things to you that I'm not too sure about. Most of the equipment I'm going to be revealing in this video are things I have actually handled, things I've actually used, equipment I've at least seen and touched and heard. So I'm not going to be revealing things that I know nothing about. I'm revealing things that I at least have an idea about. So these are some examples that you can look into. Number one, the Focusrite Scarlett 2i2. It has 2 inputs, and that's more than enough for a beginner recordist. That's more than enough for a producer who wants to just record vocals and guitar and stuff like that. Now, the second example I'm going to reveal to you is the Scarlett 18i8, still from Focusrite. Now, this was my second audio interface, and I have some good history with it. I loved it. It never went bad on me. I actually sold it after I got a replacement. Now, this one has more inputs. You can see it has 4 analog inputs on the front, and it has some extra line inputs behind. It also has MIDI connections, ins and outs, and SPDIF, and of course an expansion via optical ADAT. And that's fantastic for someone who wants to record a band, for someone who wants to go into recording larger ensembles and even a small orchestra. That will be more than enough inputs for you. Now, the next in line is still from Focusrite. It's the Scarlett 18i20, and it's the audio interface I currently use at the moment. Right now, it's connected to my setup, and I'm actually recording through it right now as we speak. Now, this guy has 18 inputs and 20 outputs. Now, it's a little bit more expensive than its younger brothers, the 18i8 and the Scarlett 2i2, of course, but it has more outputs. It has more outputs and more connection possibilities and options for engineers who want to record larger groups or have, some mixing ideas that would involve more outputs. Now, this brings us to another option of recording audio interfaces. Now, it doesn't have to be a rack-mounted unit. It doesn't have to be a desktop unit. It can also be a mixer. If you're the type who likes to be, tactile and you like moving faders and turning knobs here and there, then you may prefer mixers, and that's fantastic. Now, there are very wonderful, powerful, not too expensive USB-based audio interfaces that are mixers also that you can find in the market. Now, 2 examples I have for you that are not expensive and are easily accessible on the market are the Behringer Q802. The Q802 is a portable mixer from Behringer, and it has 6 inputs. It's a very portable one. You can just throw it in your bag with your laptop, go anywhere, wherever you are, bring it out and continue your production setup. That's fantastic for people who want to have a hands-on experience in their recording process, people who want to turn knobs and move faders and all that. This one doesn't have faders, it has knobs, but it's still, it gives that tactile experience that someone who is used to the analog world would be very, pleased with on the small scale. Now, secondly, we have the Mackie Pro FX 12 version 3. Now, this guy is a bigger one, and it has faders and a larger track count. Now, this is another USB mixer that will serve you well as an audio interface and also as a recording mixer. Now, again, it has the faders and the knobs and connections, inputs and outputs for someone who has recording experience with mixers and someone who enjoys that tactile recording experience. Now, if that's you, then this one is a fantastic option for you. So there's so much that can be said about audio interfaces, analog to digital converters and digital to analog converters and all that. Now, that's a massive topic that will take weeks to really exhaust. And we're not going to go into that now because we're talking about essential studio equipment for beginners and for anyone who wants to start out in the audio field. So let's move on to the next one, the Digital Audio Workstation, the DAW or DAW, like most of us like to, term it. Now, this is the software program within your computer that handles the recording, the capturing of the audio signal, the editing, the processing, the manipulation, and the processes that lead to the storage of the files that you would want to be stored within your devices. Now, this guy handles everything after we have left the recording stage, after we have left the analog stage. and I'll give you examples. And again, I'll mention this here. All the examples I'm going to give you are examples that I have experience with, examples that I've used myself. So I'm not going to mention a DAW, for instance, that I've never used before, because I wouldn't know what to tell you about it, and I wouldn't know how to recommend it to you because I have no clue about it. I'll do this in two categories. The first category being free versions, absolutely free, you pay nothing to use them. And then second category being paid versions. Now, number one on the free version is Pro Tools First. Pro Tools First is the free version of the industry standard, the leading DAW in the market right now as at 2020, 2019, 2020. And it's absolutely free. It comes with limitations, but it depends on what you want to use it for. It depends on your workflow, depends on how you want to go about your production, mixing and mastering. Now, the limitations on Pro Tools First are in track count, limitations with the use of third-party plugins. Now, these are things that may not be a big deal for someone who is just starting out. These are things that you may want to overlook if you don't need third-party plugins, if you don't record more than 16 to 24 channels in one session, then you're absolutely fine with Pro Tools First. But if you want to record more tracks, if you want to record a big band, you want to record an orchestra or something, then you're going to need a bigger or a different DAW. All right, so those are some of the limitations that come with Pro Tools First. But if you want to go for the paid version, which is Pro Tools Standard or Pro Tools Ultimate, then you're going to be spending a lot of money, and that's absolutely your choice. Number two on the free version category list is Cakewalk by BandLab. Now, Cakewalk by BandLab is absolutely free. It's an amazing DAW, a very powerful program, and it has all the features you'd want it to have, and it's absolutely free. Now, this used to go by the name Sonar by Cakewalk or Sonar Cakewalk back then, a couple of years ago, maybe 2 years ago, before it was converted and the name was changed to Cakewalk by BandLab. Now, it's still the same software. It still has the same features because I've used it. I used Sonar and I've used Cakewalk by BandLab also, and I can tell you it's the same software, and even with some new features. And all you have to do is look into it, and if it has the features that favor your style of work, your workflow, then go for it, go get it, and see if you like it. Now let's move over to the paid version of DAWs, and I'm just going to mention Pro Tools, which is the one I use. Now, Pro Tools is a powerful DAW, has the features I like, has the general user interface that I appreciate. I like how things move around, I like how I move things around, I like how the whole system, the whole software works, and it just fits the type of engineer that I am. It just fits the type of producer that I am. I'm a recording based producer. I'm a recording and editing based kind of engineer, and that's the way I work, and it favors me, it suits me, and that's what I want. And it doesn't have to be your choice. You just have to go out there and look for something that fits your workflow. You have to go and look for something that goes well with the way you want to work as an engineer, as a music producer, as a mix engineer, as a mastering engineer, whatever you choose. It just has to be a tool that serves you, because the tool was made to serve you. You were not made to serve the tool. It's a tool that you use to achieve your goals. So it has to fit into your workflow to make your goals achievable. I also have to mention here that most audio interfaces that were manufactured in the past 5-10 years come with some software bundles and DAWs within the package. So when you buy the audio interface, it would include a license to a particular software or a license to a free version of a particular DAW. Now, it's a very, very fantastic idea by the manufacturers, and it favors people who want to start out immediately. So I've included links to all the things that I've mentioned here, the gear and the equipment that I'm going to mention in this video. The links to these equipment are in the description down below. Just take a look at them, Follow the links if you want to purchase any of them, and that would be amazing. Now, the reason I've included links to audio interfaces that have software bundles included is so that you can, have a good bargain. If you are looking for softwares and you're looking for plugins out there in the market, it's a wise thing to buy an audio interface that has, for instance, the Waves Gold bundle or the Waves Musicians bundle included into the entire package. And it's also wise to go for something that has a DAW license included so that you can start work immediately. Now, next on the list of essential studio equipment is microphones. Now, microphones are essential in the studio. They're very, very important. They're transducers that capture the performances that we have in the studio. Now, if you have the need to record vocals, if you want to record guitars, acoustic, electric guitars, and guitar amplifiers, if you record drum sets, maybe you want to record a live band or a small ensemble, then you need microphones. You need to have microphones in the studio and microphones of different types. But if you just want to record vocals alone and you don't see the possibility of recording a large band anytime in the future, then 1 or 2 microphones is absolutely more than enough for you. Now, to be on the safer side, I would advise that you go for something that is more versatile in the studio to record more than one kind of source. Now, large diaphragm microphones are your go-to option for this because you'll be able to record vocals, you'll be able to record instruments like guitars, even guitar amps, you'll be able to record drum overheads depending on what you want to record and what you want to go for. Large diaphragm microphones are most versatile in the studio. I'll give you options that I've actually used in the studio, options I've used to record vocals, guitars, guitar amps, and even drums. Number 1 is Behringer B2 Pro. Behringer B2 Pro is an amazing large diaphragm microphone that is inexpensive. It's a little below $100 and it's amazing. It does the job for you. Now, this is something that I've used since about 2015. I got mine in 2015 and I'm still using it today. Now, this microphone is still serving. It's still in fantastic shape. I've never had to fix it since 2015, and this is almost 2020. It's an amazing microphone and it will serve you well. The second example of a large diaphragm microphone I'm going to give you is, of course, my other large diaphragm microphone, the Sterling Audio ST55. It's an amazing large diaphragm microphone, very versatile, sounds amazing. And the name actually describes it best. It's Sterling, to be honest. It's also an option to go for dynamic microphones in the studio. If you want to record vocals, drums, guitar amps, acoustic guitars, you can also use dynamic microphones. Example number 1, Shure SM57. It's an amazingly versatile microphone used for recording vocals, for recording drums, guitar amps, acoustic guitars, and all whatnot. The Shure SM57 has a brother known as the SM58. The SM58 is an amazing option also. It's good on vocals, sounds amazing on guitar, and is a fantastic addition to your mic collection in the studio. Now, if you have the option and if you have the opportunity and the means to go for both dynamic and large diaphragm condenser microphones, I advise that you have these 2 microphones in your microphone locker because of their quality and versatility in recording. Next on the list of essential studio equipment is the MIDI keyboard or MIDI controller. Now, it could be seen as a controller when it has all the bells and whistles and all the knobs and faders that you can use to actually control MIDI information in your system, or it could just be a keyboard that has MIDI ins and outs, MIDI connections at the back, and maybe a pitch bend here and there that you can use to actually manipulate the MIDI signals in your system. Now, I would advise that you go for whatever fits your workflow. If a controller is what you need to do all the MIDI magic in the studio, then go for a controller. But if an ordinary keyboard or an ordinary digital piano, it could be a digital piano that you have, and it has MIDI in and outs. If that's all you would need, then do go for that. The most important function of your MIDI controller or MIDI keyboard is to generate MIDI commands, MIDI information that will trigger virtual instruments within your digital audio workstation. The first example I'm going to give you here is the Akai MPK Mini. Now this is a powerful, wonderful, versatile MIDI controller. It has pads, it has encoders, it's USB powered, and it can even fit into a small bag that you can carry around to do your production work anywhere you want. Now this is an amazing one for people who are not too keen on having too many keys and too many octaves, but this will do the job of generating the MIDI information that needs to trigger your virtual instruments within your DAW. And it has, drum pads that you can use to sequence your drums. But if you're like me and you want more keys and you want access to more octaves for your piano playing and for arranging strings and stuff like that, then the Alesis V61 is a better choice for you. The Alesis V61 has 61 keys on it, and it also has, the pads that you can use to sequence your drums. It has encoders you can use to assign for panning and all that. And it has, of course, the modulation wheel and pitch wheel. Now, these are not too many features, but it has more keys and more octaves. But if you're looking for even much more keys and more octaves and more bells and whistles, then you're aiming for the top flight. You're looking at guys like the M Audio Hammer 88 or the Arturia Keylab 88. These are keyboards that have 88 hammer action weighted keys. This is the real deal. Now, these are keyboards that pianists or people with musical backgrounds will go for because this is the kind of keyboards that I want. This is the kind of keyboards that I like to use to do my production work, especially when I'm dealing with piano or key instruments. The Arturia Keylab 88 has more bells and whistles, has, more knobs, more faders, more pads, more encoders that you can use to assign, to your different panning and plug-in control options. It's an amazing machine. All right, now on to the next essential studio equipment. Now, this one is very important because you have to hear everything that you're doing in the studio, and that's headphones and studio monitors. Now, it depends on your budget, it depends on your workflow, it depends on your environment. You may want to go for headphones if you're in an environment where you can't disturb your neighbors. You have neighbors that you don't want them hearing loud music because they're going to throw you out or have you reported. If this is your situation, then I advise that you go for headphones, and there are decent options out there in the market that you can go for and have a worthwhile time even while producing music with headphones. I'll give you some examples. Number one, Audio-Technica ATH M50 or the Brother ATH M50X. Now, this is a headphone that I've used for years. This is a headphone that I really like the sound of. It has a punchy sound. It's loud and punchy and in your face, literally in your head, not just your face. And it's amazing. It's an amazing option right there. The next example I'm going to give you is the Bayerdynamic DT770 Pro, and mine is the 80 ohms version. Now that's right in the middle. It's a fantastic pair of headphones, and it's amazing for production work, for mixing and mastering, because it has a clear, rich sound, and it's also punchy and loud. There are other headphone options that you can go for in the market. They abound, but these two are headphones that I have used and have found amazing results with. Now, they are fantastic and they are durable. They have high top quality, they're top of the range. They will last you a lifetime. I can assure you, if you take care of your gear very well, they will last you a lifetime. They're not very expensive, just a little below $200, and they have the quality that you need to have in your output end. Now let's talk about studio monitors. Now, studio monitors are the big studio speakers that you would have sitting on your desk or somewhere. Like I have mine sitting behind me right here. I hope you can see them. That's the Adam A7 studio monitors, and they are amazing. They are fantastic. They suit my workflow. They are beautiful sounding. They have a nice smooth high end because of the ribbon tweeters, and they have 6.5-inch woofers that give me that low end that I want to hear in my music. Another example I have here is the PreSonus Eris 3.5. Now this has Bluetooth capabilities also, so it's an amazing option for you in 2020. It's something that is small but has a sound that is bigger than it looks. The entire PreSonus Eris series is an amazing collection of studio monitors that will serve anyone, anywhere, at any level of expertise. But I recommend the PreSonus Aries 3.5 because of its functionality, capability, and the fact that it's inexpensive. Still talking about essential studio equipment that you need to start, there's some things that are worthy of mentioning. Now, these are accessories in the studio that without them, you can't even have a recording, you can't have any kind of functioning in your studio. Now, number one, microphone cables. Microphone cables come in different shapes and sizes. We have XLR male to XLR female. We have TRS or jack to TRS. We have TS, that's the mono version of the TRS to TS. And then we have different variations. You can have an XLR to a TRS. You can have a MIDI to MIDI. We have different types of cables. There's several types of cables that you can find useful in the recording studio. And depending on your needs, depending on what you would want to do in the studio, depending on how you record, depending on the type of instruments that you have in the studio, the type of microphones and the type of microphone setups that you would want to work with in your studio, there's several types of accessories, several kinds of connections and cables that you would need to go for. Now, secondly, we have to mention microphone stands. Microphone stands are very important. You need strong microphone stands that will hold your microphone in place, ensure that your microphones don't fall to the ground while recording. It's very important. And also pop shields or pop filters. Pop filters are used to prevent the recording or transfer of sibilance from your source to the microphone. You would need pop shields or pop filters to record vocals especially, or any other source that has the ability to produce sibilance and plosives. So you would solve that problem at the source. Another thing that is worthy of mentioning as an essential studio equipment in the studio is this particular item that is, or this setup that is very, very important. It's almost as important as the studio itself, and it's acoustic treatment. Acoustic treatment is a topic that many people, people don't talk about enough. It's not talked about enough, and it's understandable why that is. But I'm going to be doing a series on acoustic treatment, and I'll show you how my acoustic treatment setup is, and I'll give you some advice and some tips on how to have yours set up depending on where you are and where you are doing your recording and mixing. Now remember, at the beginning of this video, I mentioned that I would reveal to you an item that would go a long way to improve the quality of your recordings in the studio. Now, this is optional, and this is depending on your budget, depending on your purchasing power. And the item I'm going to reveal to you is preamplifier. The preamplifier is a device that enhances the quality, the tone, the loudness level of your recording signal. Now, this is something that you would want to go for if you have the budget, if you have the means. Most audio interfaces come with decent average preamplifiers built into them. But if you want to go for something that is a standalone unit that will give you more results and more options, then I advise and recommend that you go for an external preamplifier that does just that. It just preamplifies the signal of your recording. Now remember, I've included links to all the equipment that I've mentioned in the course of this video down below in the description. All you have to do is just tap the show more, and you'll see the list of all the things I've mentioned in this video and links that will take you to sites that you could purchase them on. All right, now if this was helpful, please tap the like button, give me a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed, subscribe to the channel and tap the notification bell so that you are notified when there's new content from me. Now remember, I'm going to do a video on acoustic treatment, and that's going to be a powerful one, and it's going to be a blessing. If you have questions, if there's anything you want to add to this, if there's any experience you've had with any of the equipment that I've mentioned in this video, go ahead and comment. Let me hear about it. Tell me about it, and I'll be glad to get back at you. So till when next we see, I'm Arturia, and I'm out.